Welcome to Loving Me Before I Love You with Tammy Nicole, the podcast dedicated to you loving and putting yourself first. Others have come first in your life for years, and you know it's time for that to change. You're about to be empowered to set healthy boundaries, confidently have hard conversations, unapologetically put yourself first, and live the peaceful life you deserve. Remember, self-love is essential, and loving yourself sets the stage for every other love in your life. So get ready to embrace self-love like never before with your host, Coach Tammy Nicole.
I love you. The podcast where we stop performing, start healing, and choose ourselves on purpose. Hi, I am your host. I am Coach Tammy Nicole. I help women reclaim their voice, their worth, and their power so they can stand in confidence, clarity, and courage. Today's conversation takes us back to a place many of us spent years trying to forget. Yep, I said forget. And that's that inner child. Now, when people hear the phrase inner child, they often picture childhood memories, or they think it's simply about reminiscing. But your inner child is much more than your past. She or he is the part of you that still carries the unmet needs, the unanswered questions, the hidden fears, and the forgotten dreams from your earliest experiences. She is the little girl and or little boy who learned what love looked like, what safety felt like, whether her voice or his voice even mattered, and whether she had to earn acceptance or he had to earn acceptance. The truth is many adults' struggles don't begin in adulthood. I'm going to say that again. Many of our adult struggles did not begin in adulthood. They are echoes of our childhood. They show up in relationships we choose. They show up in our boundaries we struggle to set, the validation we constantly seek, and the way we speak to ourselves when no one else is listening. See, healing our inner child isn't about blaming your parents or living in the past. It's actually about recognizing the little girl or little boy inside of you who deserves what she may have never received: compassion, protection, affirmation, and unconditional love. Because until she or he feels safe, the woman or man you are becoming will always be carrying wounds you didn't create. So, to help us navigate this powerful conversation, I'm joined by Miss Destiny Thomas. Destiny is a therapist. She actually goes by the Prayerpist. Destiny is known for conducting Holy Spirit-led therapy through her unique approach called Prayerpy. So, in other words, she praying some things away for y'all, okay? She specializes in helping high-achieving women experience healing that addresses not only their emotional well-being, but also their spiritual restoration. Her work beautifully bridges what we call guidance and the Holy Spirit, creating space for you to heal inside out. If you ever wondered why certain situations trigger such deep emotion, why you can keep repeating the same relationship patterns, or why success still hasn't quieted the little voice inside that questions your worth, or the conversation that always asks, why am I like this? Well, this conversation is for you. So guess what? Go grab your journal. You know how we do. Get your pen, open up your hearts, and let's begin the journey back to the little girl or little boy who has been waiting for you all along. Welcome to the show, Destiny. And I know she's about to correct me real fast.
I'm not a therapist. But
welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show, Coach Tammy. I am so elated to be here. I love what your podcast does and stands for. And this episode is very dear to my heart. Because I myself, like all of us, have had to confront that little girl inside of me to become the best version of myself that God has called me to be as my adult self. So thanks for having me.
I'm excited for you to be here. When I saw on your profile that it said pray, I call it Prayerpist. Like it's like, I was like, oh, this is the therapist who prays more. It's your prayer therapist. So though she may not be what we call the legal therapist, we're not gonna Cheyenne Brian her over here. But we we will acknowledge her the way she desires to be acknowledged. But again, Destiny, I'm super excited about the conversation because the little girl or little boy inside, for most of us, needs a conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited.
When you heard the topic, what was the first thing that really came to mind for you?
When I heard the topic, it was actually very timely. And if you know the Lord, you know how he works. He'll have you on your own journey where he's pulling back another layer, and then he'll have you go through it and position you to use it and share it as a testimony. And so I was like, oh, this is cute, And so I was actually really, really excited because I recently had to confront even more deeper things from my childhood to even walk into what God is calling the promise, right? To confirm or to feel that I'm worthy of receiving it, of worthy of having it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really excited to have the conversation because I feel like it's necessary.
Absolutely. So when I hear reconnecting with the inner child, for me, it brings up two things, right? It always brings up the little girl inside that may be sitting in the corner, not having any attention being shown to her. And it brings up the positioning that I should still be that little girl, even though I'm a grown woman. A lot of us, I think, skip past childhood all the time and think that there's no connection still to that place. And it should be. I still color. I may do it digitally. I still play games. I still, that inner child doesn't disappear just because she chronologically aged, right? And some of us, need to visit her. Some of us need to tap back in and see what were the things that actually brought us joy. What are the things that actually keep us youthful and excited? We've allowed the responsibilities and the struggles of adulthood to rob us of the inner child that still technically exists, but we just ignore her. And a lot of us have taught ourselves to ignore that inner child the same way she was ignored when she was a child.
I absolutely agree. Because I think right now with this whole healing movement, we have made the younger version of you bad, right? Or like, oh, she didn't have a voice, and so now I have to silence her so that I can be all that I'm supposed to be. But the reality is there is a duality between the two, right? In order for us to truly, fully walk into being the child of God that we're called to be, we have to constantly engage our inner child, right? We have to, because if we don't, we'll want to control, we'll want to drive the vehicle. We won't let him do that. And so it really is important to have, like you said, those moments where you pull out a puzzle, you pull out, a coloring book, you really journal, you sit with yourself. But there comes a point where you have to have hard conversations with that child version of you that says, hey, you're no longer fighting to be heard. You can now use your voice, right? And so I think there is a duality of the two that have to come together in order for you to be all that you're called to be as well.
Absolutely. I think the other part of it, though, is the little child on the inside. Some of us are afraid to connect with them because they don't really want to relive the things that she experienced or he experienced. It's like, I'm going to leave you in this little space because that's where I was left. Not knowing that leaving them in that spot keeps you technically stuck in that spot Because even in your adult years, though you have matriculated and grown and, have gone into a chronological age of adulthood, how you respond, act, interact with other people is still stuck in that spot that you left. Your inner child, they're still stuck there. You still get easily irritated by people because, they take something that belonged to you that you wanted. That's that inner child sitting in the corner waiting on you to say, this is how you handle conflict.
Yep, absolutely. There's something I always say to my clients: you're only as old as the last traumatic experience you confronted, right? And so if you haven't really took time to acknowledge, like you said, when someone didn't acknowledge you or didn't allow you to speak up, every time you're in a conversation with somebody, whether it's your boss or your spouse, you're shutting down, right? You're not communicating effectively what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, or you learn to disengage from emotion, right?
Yeah.
And so you're right. It's super important for you to go back to your childhood and confront those things, have conversations about those things. But like you said, a lot of us are very afraid of going back and experiencing those things because we live in a world that tells us just move on, just keep going, right? And that's so unhealthy because regardless of whether you do the work or not, when you least expect it, it's going to rear its ugly head, And
a lot of us don't know what doing the work looks like.
That is true.
Okay. A lot of us don't know what doing the work actually looks like. Some of us do the work and don't realize we're doing the work.
Very true.
Others of us attempt to do the work, but go nowhere. And then the rest of us that go get assistance in doing the work sometimes move ahead. But the essence of doing the work requires honesty, right? And a lot of us are afraid to be honest with ourselves because of what that honesty brings about. The people that you have to look at and say, wow, this did happen. Or the thoughts and the memories of things that transpired that you wanted to forget about. You have to acknowledge. And it's like having the understanding of acknowledging something that may have hurt you. If you don't realize that acknowledging the hurt brings about the healing, you stay broken.
Yeah.
I always tell couples, you actually are supposed to grow closer in the conflict. You're supposed to grow closer when things go wrong. When everything is smooth sailing, you're not as close as you think you are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're just enjoying moments. You're just able to get along easy. And it's like, oh, this is easy peasy. But if you're in the beginning of a relationship, until you have that first big argument to understand how somebody has your back, if they have your back, and all of those things, like, you don't really get it. It's been easy peasy. But it's when you go through the hard times, you're supposed to grow closer. Even if you look at relationship with God, when you go through the hard times, you grow closer to him. You need him more. You depend on him more. You rely on everything that he says, which is why I think most of us go through the trauma. Why most of us go through the drama is because he requires that dependency. And too many of us think we can do it by ourselves. And so he puts us in positions that says, nope, you actually do need me. You actually do have to come sit in this corner and sit on your knees and, have a real conversation.
And you're right. And most of the time it's when that big argument happens that you are growing closer, because it's then that you get to see why the person's really there, right? Prior to that, like you said, it's just highlight reels, good moments, nice memories being made. But you're not really triggered, and specifically in marriage and relationships, because we were just having a conversation about that the other day. It's in those heated moments that those triggers actually will come up, right? Oh my gosh, I spoke up. They're going to leave. Oh my God, right? So it's during that time when you're arguing and conflict is there that you see that, oh, maybe they are here for me and not like everybody else, right? But if
Yeah.
you are ignoring and avoiding those moments, you're constantly, a lot of times, just performing in the relationship to avoid getting to that moment, which will really unfold if it's really meant to be or not. I mean, outside of the Lord leading you, of course, but yeah. So the other thing you touched on was like not confronting things. It's something we say all the time is like what we don't confront, we end up recreating without knowing, right? You look up one minute and you're like, oh my gosh, I sound just like my mother, right? Because it's the way she talked to you or the way she reprimanded you that you did not like, but you never really confronted it. And then you end up kind of recreating that same cycle of things. And I think it's, like you said, so important to sit with yourself and have those conversations. That's why I actually love the work that we do in Prayerpy, because that's what we do. We use our own memory of what happened, but we also use the Holy Spirit because he takes us back to things we've tried to avoid. He takes us back to things that we've tried to cover up, right? And so he'll pose a question and it will begin to unravel right in front of you. And you're kind of like, oh my God. Like we were in a session not too long ago, and one of the young ladies, the Lord was like, I see you in a classroom setting and you were about 7 or 8. And there was a teacher that like really meant the world to you. And she just began to break down crying. But what was happening there was throughout her life, she didn't have a really good relationship with her mother, right? And it was this teacher that gave her that nurturing motherly feeling. And it was as an adult that was starting to kind of recycle itself with her supervisor. And so the Lord was taking her back to like, to be able to really receive your supervisor the way you need to, I need you to know that there are women out there that genuinely do mean you well, that it's not a situation like your mother again, right? And so, like you said, it's so important to unfold that stuff so that you can fully receive those people who are coming in your life, fully receive your purpose and the plan that God has for your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times what really transpires for us is that we stuff, right? We take things, we stuff it into a pillowcase, and it's like, as long as I don't have to deal with it, I'm okay. Right. And you mentioned like what we don't address or confront, we recreate it later, right? What we are, what we see, right? So whatever example we were given as kids, that is what we will emulate and imitate as adults because it's the information that we know. If no one else comes and gives us a different trajectory, give us a different experience, give us a new model that we gravitate to, enjoy, and want to, emulate and imitate, we will do the exact same thing that we grew up in, even if we don't want to, right? And sometimes the ones that don't want to, they have to be a little bit more intentional about not doing it.
Absolutely.
Right? It reminds me of like, even when I got married, I always said I did not want a man like my dad. So I intentionally went opposite. However, discovered that was the wrong thing to do. And it was wrong not just because it was being more defiant or, trying to go against the grain. Even if I didn't like my dad, there were components of him that he gave me that I need. And I need them in a partner. So being so deliberate to make sure I didn't get anyone like him was more detrimental to me than helpful. Because the partner that I had chosen could not address the needs that my dad technically gave me, that he had no idea about what it was. He could, and trying to teach him is not that's not going to work, right? Because I can't teach you certain things. You just got to know it. It's like you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
But I learned that you can't always intentionally move and remove the pain of childhood. You have to confront it, address it, get the why out of it.
Yeah.
Right? and then decide, oh, okay, I see your purpose. Now let me give you a plan.
Yeah.
Right. I see why you were a part of my life. Now let me give you the plan moving forward of how you're supposed to operate within my life.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm in control versus it controlling me.
Yeah. Because giving it a position. Yeah, that's good.
And not too many of us understand that. We don't understand that process. We don't, we runners. We're like, we run away from everything. I always talk about when you're in an anxious attachment because you were abandoned in some level of your life, you really are as much of an avoider as much as you. A lot of people don't think that attachment style people avoid things, but they run from things all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They are the big self-sabotagers. They create the chaos when it doesn't have to be, just so they can feel like they control the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And then point the finger back at the other person like, I knew you were going to do X, Y, and Z anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's a storyline you created. They didn't create that storyline. You created it.
Yeah.
And you allowed their behavior to validate it.
Yep. Avoiding the inevitable. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. And even as you were talking in regards to like, when you are looking for a partner or things like that, it was when I got married, actually, because I always say there's 4 things now. I used to say 3 that will really make you confront yourself in a way you didn't know you needed to be confronted and really deal with that inner child. And that's usually getting married, having children, starting a business. And I recently found out leading in ministry. It will require you to really confront some things. And it was in marriage for me where it first started, right? Where it was kind of like you said, no, Destiny, you're avoiding this conversation, right? But I hadn't realized that I had internalized from my childhood that when I spoke up or when I share my opinion, it usually made people leave or it wasn't well received. And so my husband is very communicative, very what's wrong, what's going on. But I had internalized so deeply that if I spoke up or shared why, what was my problems, that it would be too much for him. And so we struggled a lot in the beginning because of that. And it wasn't until I found myself kind of backed in a corner, like, okay, Destiny, either you're going to confront these things that the Lord is revealing to you and going, and I was battling infertility. And that's when everything kind of came to a head. And, I obviously decided to finally confront it, but I didn't realize how much that was controlling me, right? Of and those voices gets loud.
Yeah.
Don't say nothing. He's just looking for a reason to leave. If you tell him this is gonna, and so it is really important to confront those things. And even when I had children, the things that I didn't deal with my biological father not being there started coming to the surface, right? Of can a dad really love his children this much? Or is this going to be a reason for him to leave? Because my dad, those kind of things, that if you don't take time to confront, you can end up self-sabotaging your marriage, your relationship with your children, your finances, all the things. Because even a few months ago, I was in prayer and the Lord was saying, Destiny, you trying to protect little Destiny and give her voice back is making you self-sabotage adult Destiny. And I was like, what? And he kept saying it over and over again. And I was like, I don't know what this means. But then he broke it down. He was like, because, okay, you'll sit with me and we'll come up with a plan of how we're going to save. But then little Destiny will say, no, you exercised this whole week. You deserve to get fast food. And that's the little girl is saying you are deserving of this. But you're self-sabotaging the adult Destiny who has a plan with her finances, right? Or little Destiny will say, when it came to exercising or eating healthy, right? It's like, no, you're deserving of this sweet pie, right? And it's like, no, your adult self doesn't need that, right? And that's why I was talking about just the balance of letting her know her position. She is necessary. She is needed for me to even be who I am today and to become who God's calling me to be. But she also has a place, and understanding her place and positioning her there properly.
Yeah, she does have a place. I think it's a relationship that has to be created.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know if it's more so her place, if it as much as it is the dynamics of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So a lot of times when we do the inner work and we're doing the childhood rebuilding, healing phase, she gets into a spot of like, let me give her everything she didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now that I know all the things that she was missing, now I can feed it. I can provide it. I can do all of these things so that she doesn't feel the neglect, the
Mm-hmm.
abandonment that I'm like reinventing on her behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality, though, that needs to take place is there needs to be a relationship built.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily like you didn't get, so I give. It's you didn't get. I apologize for not being who I needed to be in that moment for you. But here's who we are today.
Today. Mm-hmm. Reparenting the child. Yeah.
Correct. So it doesn't give her a space of control and the feel of I need to get everything I didn't get back then. It gives her the space of I'm content and whole based upon the apology and forgiveness exchange that now I can be supportive and encouraging to the adult version of me that says, here are the things that you need. Here and it's a real healthy relationship with her.
Mm-hmm.
So when you said all that you said in reference to self-sabotage in the adult version, what I honestly heard was that the adult and the child don't have a healthy relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What I heard was there needs to be a level of conversation between the two of you that says, you know what? No, I didn't give you this. No, I didn't protect you from this. No, I wasn't there to provide. And I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
But to you today, we are this, we are healthy, we're happy, we're thriving.
Mm-hmm.
We're no longer surviving. And in your role currently in my life is to encourage that I'm always healthy, happy, thriving, and no longer surviving. So therefore, she will no longer pick things that will be detrimental to the adult version.
That's good. Yeah.
Because now the two of you have the same common goal. So when you don't have that, when you don't create that healthy relationship with the inner child of you, the inner child says, now somebody's paying attention. Now let me get what I want. But you got to tell her, oh no, we're paying attention. But your role and job now is to make sure that we stay healthy, that we stay thriving, and that we're one unit. We're no longer separated.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's super important for the language too, because like you said, I said, put her in her place, right? And from a child standpoint, when an adult says,
Yep.
put you in your place, there is a negative connotation with that, right? It is like, oh, you're setting me down again, versus this is a partnership and we're working this together for a common goal. And so I think language is super important. Yeah.
At 100%. And you saw and felt it differently when I just explained it, because I saw it in your face when you were like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Like it was starting to click, and that's just really what it is. A lot of us have patterns that we don't know how to identify, give a real story to, tell it what to do. Like you have to give direction. We are very quick to say, okay, I get it. Now what?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is very like I do a webinar called Why Am I Like This?
Mm-hmm.
We do it every Thursday. And it's really about understanding who you are,
Mm-hmm.
because you have lived a life on purpose, that you've become a woman that you are today by accident, while intentionally doing the things that people told you to do who didn't even know you,
Mm-hmm.
who didn't know your worth, who didn't even understand who the heck you are. But you've become this person because you intentionally did the things that they said do,
Mm-hmm.
which gave you an accidental identity, not necessarily who you truly are.
Right.
And we have to take more ownership And all of that comes from childhood. All of it comes from like really looking back and saying, who is little Keisha? Who is, little Tiffany? Who is little Tammy? Who is little Destiny? And understanding like, okay, they exist in real life and they show up unheard. And the very thing that you feel when you feel unheard is how they feel consistently because you haven't acknowledged them.
Absolutely. And that it reminds me of like how my whole journey started. I was working in corporate America, kind of doing what I was told. You go to school, you do this, you do that. And then as I went through infertility, that's when the Lord really confronted me and really started dealing with me through marriage and unraveling. And that is when he told me to quit my corporate job back then. This was almost 10 years ago now. And it was like, what? Like, I can't do that. But he was like on this journey. That's what he had been doing, unraveling this reality that I was living based off of what people told me to do and how they told me to live, and walk me into who it is he has called me to be. And that is how, the Prayerpist and all of that was created, which was something I never even thought of doing. But you're right. Like you have to have this moment of confrontation where you really come out of agreement with the box that you were living in or created to live in. Yeah.
I like that. The box. Because I think a lot of us don't realize that we place ourselves in boxes.
Absolutely.
Even when you look at self-sabotaging, right? And it's like people don't understand why it exists. Why do I create problems that don't exist to exist and then turn around and complain about them? And then after I complain about them and sit with myself for a minute, I realize I started it. And then when I want to get it back, I realize it's too late. And then I will give myself another explanation of why I did what I did and justify it so that I feel comfortable with the decision that was made.
We were just talking about that in a training of like your subconscious and how you don't realize that your subconscious is really created to protect you. But the negative about it is it only is ran off of history. And so because it's only ran off of history, you could really be in a good situation now, relationally, financially, corporately, whatever.
Yeah.
But because your subconscious is being triggered because it's a new norm, it will tell you you're not safe. It will tell you like abort basically. And so it's super important for you to be intentional about having disciplines and consistency and kind of
Wow, today's episode is a good one. I know you're enjoying it and we'll get back to it shortly. Just wanted to take a quick break to let you know that Tammy would love for you to share any questions, comments, or topic ideas you have with her. All you have to do is send them to her in an email to podcast@IamTammyNicole.com. Thank you, and without further ado, let's get back into today's show.
We talked about, number one, knowing your identity, but also being consistent at the new thing enough so it can retrain your subconscious that this is safe. And I think that is super important when it comes to confronting the inner child, like having that conversation and creating that relationship with the child, but also showing the child that we are safe, that these are not just mere words I'm giving you, because also depending on your upbringing, that could be a trauma for you that the adults around you, the people around you told you one thing, but did something different.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think that the other tip on what we call recalibrating, resetting the nervous system is to write it down, right? Like I have my clients write down their ideal self. If this is who you really want to be and how you want to operate and how you want to be seen and how you want to do things. until you write it down, it won't happen. And people always say, well, why I have to write it down? Because you have to write it, you have to say it, you have to see it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do those things, everything that you already have pre-programmed, preloaded will always override it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you will see the things again that don't technically align with what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that subconscious experience of, man, I really want to escalate IQ, right? Like, I want that. Then you turn around tomorrow, I'm gonna see all escalate IQs on the road. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
why am I seeing? I never even seen them before I saw this one picture and was like, oh, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same experience you have in wanting your life to be a certain way. So when you see a relationship, I always say that that's a difficult space to navigate because you see outcomes of relationship that get placed on social media.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the formation or the maintenance. You see the outcome. And some of those outcomes are very convoluted. Some of them are, AI falsified and created. They're
Superficial.
not they're not always authentic, right? But you can take the image that you see and the feeling that you arrive at when you see it and place those things in words in your journal. Describe what it looks like, what it feels like, so that you can then say, you know what, when these things happen, I'm safe and okay. But I always tell people who you are to you will be a reflection of who that relationship will become or what that relationship will become, simply because the first relationship that matters is the one you have with yourself. You cannot duplicate something that hasn't existed.
Mm-hmm.
So when you want someone to treat you a certain kind of way, if you're not treating yourself that way, there's no way you can duplicate that in a relationship with someone else because you don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You must know what it is. Like, the body must know. It must know. What is it? If you want flowers all the time
Mm-hmm.
and you never bought yourself any flowers, that man ain't bringing you none.
That part.
He not bringing you any. And if he brings it to you one time, it's because you asked for it.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be something he will naturally do, because what's going to happen is you're never going to naturally talk about how you picked up flowers today to put on your table for him to know that you really enjoy them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So the very thing of you having that relationship with yourself is way more important than the one you have with a man or a significant other. It starts with you. I always say this all the time. God gave us the blueprint in everything. And he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself, which means you had to start with you first.
Right. Yep. And if you don't love yourself, can you realistically say you love another? You
Oh,
can't.
absolutely not.
You can't. And people,
No,
like, we think because we overextend ourselves, I love people. And it's like, no,
that's a
but
performance.
right.
Keep your transactional experiences, And it's the reality. I mean, this podcast, the phrase loving me before I love you, is a Jesus driven phrase for me, because it simply says there's no way I can say I love you if I haven't said I love me first. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
It has to come first. And it's not an option. And it's not selfish.
At all.
To be quite frank, it's the most giving thing I could ever do. Because if I haven't given to myself, I'm not giving to you.
Yeah. And that's what in 2025, I started, and I keep it actually in my office. It's called a keeping my word to myself list. And every year I write that out and I focus on that, because I can't be to you what I can't be to myself, even to my children, even to my husband. Right. And even the part you talked about journaling, that is actually the Prayerpy process is through journaling, because I'm a living witness of what Habakkuk 2:2 and 2:3, like, write
Write
the
it
vision,
down, make it plain.
right? Like, it cannot be ran if it's not written, and even though, of course, the world and things like that have taken over this manifestation thing, it is a biblical principle in regards to writing it down, declaring and decreeing it so that it can come to pass, right? God created life with his words.
Yes.
We have to put those words on paper and create visual aids, because if you can't see it, you can't live it. You can't live it. And it's so important to, like you said, write down, what do I want to see for my life? And not even only about materialistic things, but of course those too, right? But when, like you said, when I experience happiness, what do I feel? Is there a warmth that comes over my heart? Is there a, like, what does it feel like? And I think we don't spend enough time doing that. Yeah. And we are just, like you said, watching on social media these highlight reels and saying, oh, I want that. Well, you have to go through a process and a pruning to get that. And it starts with being able to even articulate what that is, right? We always say we want that, but what is it? What is it that you want? You want to go on a vacation? Do you know what happened in the interim of these pictures on the vacation? And so it's super important, like you said, I love journal. I have like a actual shelf of journals because I love journaling. I love really just, like I said, I've seen it with my own eyes. Like every single one of my children, I wrote down before even birthing them who they would be, what they would look like. I would sit with the Lord. Who will they be like in the Bible? Like, so I can know what attributes to pray over, to cover them. And so you're right. Like, I don't know, I get excited when we talk about like just writing, because it really, my office all around it has affirmations and just things that I look up every day. Destiny, are you doing the mindset work to be who you're asking to be? Are you doing, what sacrifices are you making for what you want, right? A lot of times we talk about wanting a thing and dealing with, the inner child, but have you become this person? Because marriage, it requires a different mindset. A different level financially, it requires a different mindset. Yeah. Being healthy, it requires a different version of you. So, yeah.
And I think reconnecting with your inner child allows you to get to those spaces.
Absolutely.
Because you have to start from the beginning. And I think so many of us just want to start at the end. That's why social media and the highlight reels are so fascinating. They're so intriguing because the end is beautiful. Right? The end is everything that I want.
Mm-hmm.
We have to start at the beginning to get to the end.
Absolutely.
The life that you're living today, you're in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to decide, how do I get to the end if I don't know how I started?
Mm-hmm.
And so you reconnect with that inner child. You get an understanding of who she is, who he is, because men listen too, and understand where you left them, and then pick them up, bring them on the journey so that you can get to the end version that you really desire. But if you don't write it down, if you don't speak about it on the regular, if your mindset isn't geared towards it, it's not happening.
At all. And, something I always say is we like to heal from the top down. God likes to heal from the root up, right? Like we like to, even when we go to therapy, it's like, I want to go because this last relationship didn't work. And it's like, well, no, how did you get there? Right. Or this friendship didn't work or whatever. And it's like, well, in order to see how you got here, we got to start there.
Start from the beginning.
And I forget, some years ago, I was in prayer and I was dealing with rejection so bad, like in friendships and relationships and things like that. And the Lord was like, Destiny, you never asked me to reveal to you where the seed of rejection was planted, when the seed of rejection was planted. And I was like, well, I mean, that's not a question you would think to ask, God, but sure, like enlighten me. So I asked him and he was like, it started in the womb when your mother found out about you and how my mom was in high school. She, and he was like, from your father, from there, that seed was planted and it just kind of continued from there. And so we have to backtrack and go back to that place, right? And kind of, like you said, reparent that child that immediately felt like I was bad. It was bad timing. It was, it was a mistake. Those kind of things that you experience as a child that carry along with you, because even though you were a baby, I think about my kids, and with every single one of them, there's a song I would sing to them when they were in my womb, right? And once they were out, I would sing the song and they would immediately respond. Because what you are saying to your child in the womb, they hear, they're
You're part of it. Yeah.
and so that becomes a part of you as you're growing up and you don't realize those things, right? And so that is, like you said, it's super important to really deal with those, the start of a thing. How did I get here? Why do I respond this way?
Yeah.
But it starts with asking the questions, writing it down, and really, like you said, confronting those things. And you'll be amazed. I've been amazed on this journey of healing with the Lord, of just the things that you don't realize affect you and how they affect you, and how they become a truth that isn't the truth.
That part. And it again, I think a lot of us have a lot that starts in childhood, and reconnecting. You can reconnect on multiple levels. It's not just about bringing up the bad stuff. It's also about bringing up the stuff that you enjoyed. It's about bringing up the stuff that you have like put aside. Some of us don't know who we are because we left that little child in the dust. We left them sitting there thinking they were no longer important and no longer needed because I'm an adult now. And, though the Bible says, when I was a child, I think as a child, now that I'm an adult, I should think as one. Like, even though it says all of that, and even though it says I put away childish things and all of those things, that is about how you operate, right? It's not about who you are.
Right. That's on a scale of maturity versus immaturity versus the Bible also tells us to be childlike in our countenance, in our faith, meaning there is a part of the child that has to stay.
Correct. And a lot of us don't realize that we need them. And so I want you, and I am encouraging you, if you're listening, to reconnect with your inner child, talk to them, get to know them, see the places that you may have left them behind, have a real relationship with them. It's not about just fixing the things that happen to them. It really is about creating that relationship that connects you back to them and then brings them forward.
There's a movie I had recently saw, because something that I do that helps me reconnect with my inner child is watching movies. Like, I love watching, like, I watched Moana like yesterday. Like, I love watching those movies. But a movie I saw, and I was a little skeptical about watching it at first, but it's called Imaginary Friend. And in the movie, it was so cool because the people became adults and they completely forgot about their imaginary friends, and they needed to reconnect with them to be able to find their joy again, to be able to find their happiness, right? But the way that, because the imaginary friends didn't know how to reconnect with them, right? Because obviously they're adults, they do adult things. So they didn't know, how can we reconnect with them so we can give them their joy back? And the way that they had to end up doing it is they had to do something or bring something around them that brought back the memory. So for like one of the young men, he would always have homemade donuts from a particular bakery. And so they brought the donuts in his office and he smelled them, and then he was able to get his joy back. Another young lady, she was like a ballerina. And so they started playing the song that she did her last performance to, and it came back. But I feel like that goes so much with what we're talking about today, right? Of like, you have to do those things that, like you said, may seem childish, but it's actually bringing that joy back, back. I recently went to a concert and I was like, I don't know if I want to go. I don't really do those kind of things, but I just felt this pull from the Lord to go. And it was so freeing because it just brought me back to the little girl in middle school and high school singing these songs to the top of my lungs. And like, just the world was just so free, and sometimes you have to do those things to remember that the things that are burdening you down really aren't that big to begin with, right? But I have this responsibility, I feel, as an adult to carry these things. But when I'm reminded of my childhood and reminded of my imaginary friend, I'm reminded that I am just a child and my father is the one taking care of it all, So
absolutely. Absolutely. And that alone is enough, right?
Mhm.
It's enough. It's understanding where you were and
Mhm.
where you're going, and most importantly, where you are.
Mhm.
But the reconnection to your inner child should be, should be. I'm not saying it won't be hard. I'm not saying you won't have any um, thoughts and memories that are like unfavorable, things that you don't really care to think about. But the good side of it, the side that brings you happiness and joy and fun and laughter, that part, it
Mhm.
matters. It counts.
Yeah. Yeah. It
It
does.
counts. And I appreciate you joining me, Destiny, and sharing your story because it is definitely needed. We must always find ways to stay reconnected with our inner child. So I love that you have provided us with different examples and, experiences that says, you know what? Yeah, I can color. Yeah, I might want to go to that concert. I might want to just do something I used to do. Go
Mhm.
go double dutch. Go do something that says, hey, girl, you still got it,
Mhm.
and allows you to stay connected to who you used to be as a child. There may be things that you say, you know what, I can still do as an adult. I don't have to throw it all away.
Mhm.
You say you work with clients. Tell the people how they can reach you if they would like to work with you. They say, oh my goodness, a Prayerpist. I mean, let me go see what that is.
Well, you can find me on any platform under Realizing Destiny. That is our company name. But yeah, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, if you search Realizing Destiny, even our website, realizingdestiny.com. And we do Prayerpy work. We host the actual women's retreats internationally. Yeah, we have a lot of fun.
Awesome. 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 Remember, love yourself so much that love from others is a bonus. If you're still trying to figure out why am I like this, you know to catch me every Thursday for the webinar. Link is available in the description, or you can always go to stand.store/I am Tammy Nicole. Have a great and wonderful Transformation Tuesday. Remember, you must transform because self-love is the blueprint. Have a good day.
That's a wrap on another episode of Loving Me Before I Love You. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a second to show your support by subscribing and leaving a positive rating and review on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Stay connected with Tammy. Make sure you're following her on Instagram and TikTok at Coach Tammy Nicole. If you like to work with Tammy or have any questions you'd like her to answer, please head over to www.IamTammyNicole.com. Until next time, always remember to love yourself so much that the love from others is a bonus.